So we're recording, correct?
Yes, we're recording.
Okay, we're all good to go. Yeah.
Always good to know.
Stephanie Barca,
Hello.
how do you want to experience yourself?
Like right now or just whenever?
However you want to go with the conversation. That's how this starts. That's how this works.
All right. Well, I think with curiosity and resilience.
Okay.
Not today necessarily, but there have definitely been, points in my life that, I kind of looked around and said, well, this is not exactly what I thought it would be, or maybe not at all. And so I think when I have experienced myself with curiosity first, and then resilience, knowing that I can get through whatever I'm getting through, things have generally turned out pretty awesome.
Curiosity and resilience as kind of stated values. I can see where throughout kind of exploring many of the domains that those values would come into play of how do I want to experience myself relationally or romantically or even vocationally. I know that you sent me a book to read and review, and I'm assuming that curiosity, but then also that resilience piece on there, I think is so important of remembering our resilience, because most of us have not been truly broken by circumstance. We might feel overwhelmed. We might feel bent to our breaking point, but most of life's situations fall short of truly becoming devastating, right? And so we are very capable. And I think that that's an important value to hold on to, is remembering, it's like that saying of like, I've already outlived all of my worst days.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, we forget in that moment a lot of times that we have built up skills and we have those strengths from other things that we've experienced. Mm-hmm. And maybe we've even forgotten that, because I talk a lot in my practice about hedonic adaptation and that hedonic treadmill that, when something kind of kicks us mood-wise out of our baseline, our brain starts working back to that baseline so that we can then move forward comfortably. And, we notice it with negative moods, and we're kind of grateful for it. But that same mechanism that our brain has evolved keeps us from really remembering the good stuff too, the wins that we've had.
What do you think that is?
I think sometimes, especially for high achievers, I think it was just supposed to happen. I know in my life, very little as far as the wins that I had were surprising to me, including graduating from law school, which kind of now hitting my ear, a couple of decades later, that sounds crazy. But it was just supposed to happen. So it almost didn't register as a success where I had built up strengths and honed skills that I still use to this day. But since it was supposed to happen, my brain just kind of said, woohoo, now let's keep going.
Huh. Well, here we go. These are, I don't know that it's unique to just high achievers. Because, I kind of view myself as maybe not the most high achieving person in the world, but I think that I have achieved a lot, and I'm like what you're describing, to where when I get a win, when I start a company and it's successful, or whenever I try a new skill, on the mats in jiu-jitsu or whatever it is, and I figure it out, I go to well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to figure it out. And so then it's kind of anhedonic. Like right, is that the right word? Of like, I have a hard time connecting to a sense of accomplishment and pride, and I try to remember to be proud of myself. But my wife, who's also a very high achieving individual, she is surprised when she wins. Like, she had to take this really, really important board exam for her specialty, and she studied for weeks and months and read articles. Some of the articles that she had to read to study are the ones that she wrote. That's how high achieving she is. She's in the study literature for this board exam that is a national thing that all people in her specialty have to do to blah, 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 whatever. And she got her results earlier this week, and she was surprised she passed. Even though she was diligent and determined, and she's so smart and capable, and the author of some of the information that was needed in order to pass the exam. Like, she really celebrated herself, and I admire that so much, because I don't oftentimes, because I assume that it was supposed to be hard, and I'm supposed to figure it out, and whenever I do, I'm supposed to go find the next thing to work on.
Absolutely.
So explain that to me.
I definitely, if I could, I'd probably be on the road right now. I definitely identify with that churn almost. And, speaking of the 8 domains, the recreational domain, as a result, is one that I have real opportunities in. I mean, that's where my trouble lies. I almost have to tie things that are fun for me to a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
As a result, to kind of create that motivation, because, is it worth it?
Yeah, because, like, if I take up knitting, then I'm going to start an Etsy store.
Exactly.
Or woodworking, same thing. I'm going to start an Etsy store. Like, I can't, that's why my primary recreation, being jiu-jitsu, is like, there's accomplishment associated with it. There are definite wins and definite losses. There's promotions and acknowledgments on your belt and all that stuff as you work through that system. And so, it's just creating something or playing something for the sake of playing it is difficult for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that ties into, I think it's the Institute of Play, and I forget all the play styles, but they have kind of delineated different play styles that you have. And there is a competitor play style that, like, that's when that dopamine is really hitting, is when you're in that competition.
Yeah, the competition is always with myself, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't mind losing to someone who's better than me. But what I don't like knowing is that I beat myself by not preparing or not showing up or making a mistake that I didn't have to make. But I want to go back to something, because I don't want us to veer too far off from the topic. But what you were talking about was resilience and remembering. And one of the things that I did a lot in my practice and still do with some of my clients is I talk about, like, competence and confidence, of the difference, to where everyone wants to be confident, but they don't understand a lot of times that your confidence, which is a part of resilience, believing that you can, right?
Absolutely.
Is based off of what have you already done? Have you proven that you can? Because if you haven't proven that you can, then maybe you shouldn't be confident. Maybe you should be struggling with it. Maybe you should feel like an imposter while you're figuring this out. But that part right there, the figuring it out, is almost everyone's base level competence. We've been figuring things out our whole lives. And so that one skill in and of itself gives us some ounce of resilience just in that. Just the competence to figure it out, even if I don't know how to start a podcast, start a company, or meet a client in that specific need that they're presenting. I do have other experience of figuring things out. I don't have to know it all right now. And I think that's a component of resilience, is kind of agreeing with everything that is true. Of like, I don't have to figure it out right now, but I can figure it out.
And that's where that curiosity piece comes in. And I think the figuring it out, one of my favorite sayings is, and I forget where I read it, but there's dignity in the try. And I think so many times in the culture that we're in, you know, we try, we fail, and that's not seen as a success.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's a success just to get out there. You know, everything that we do has ripples that we can't really even know the consequences of.
Yeah.
But getting out there, I think just the data that is gleaned from that. Well, here's what I need to learn. Here's the opportunity that I have. Here's where this may have gone wrong, but you know, luck and uncertainty are always a part of that. And I think really, if you're getting out there and living your values and being authentic, there's real success in just. I told someone once, because I read this great book that was talking about uncertainty, and I said, instead of seizing the day, why don't we just poke the day and see what happens?
That feels much more appropriate to a lot of people, I would assume. Just go ahead and just poke the day. Well, and that's kind of the way that I say a similar thing with my clients is like, have more coulds than shoulds. Just like have a list of things you could do today instead of all these things that you should do in order to have a successful day or to call it a win. Like, really, you know, maybe you don't have to do everything, but you could do some things, right?
Absolutely.
So speaking of like dignity and the try, why did you think that you could write a book about the 8 domains? Something that I just made up in my head and talked about a few times in staff meeting. Why did you think that you could do that?
You know, I guess it's been a couple of years now since I came to you with this idea. It really speaks to me in that, you know, as we were kind of pull the earlier conversation in, you know, in my life, a lot of my actions and successes have been very hyper focused. And so I loved the idea that there were these 8 distinct domains that, you know, can be connected, but are also, you know, separate in that we can make these different investments and see the outcomes. And, you know, more holistically, a way of living that I think too really helps people with, you know, when these things are conflicted. You know, that's one way to kind of engage with the 8 domains. Well, let's see what's at odds here. This is not such an intractable problem. How do I live my values with these competing at this moment domains? So I think it's a useful framework in just a host of different ways. But I also think, you know, when something is going wrong, we tend to, our brains love to just hyper focus on that one thing. You know, forget the success, right? That's over. Here is a problem. We need to fix this. But I think the 8 domains allows you to take a step back and say, okay, let's right size this. You know, yes, this is going wrong, but what's going right? You know, how can we attune ourselves and kind of put the energy in that is called for?
Yeah. And I think the thing that the 8 domains allows for is kind of that, it allows like buckets in that makes it more easy to do an inventory like that, right? You can go through and if you work through this process with an 8 domains, you know, informed therapist, or I feel like it's more coaching than therapy. It's kind of how I've presented it. But like, if you say, okay, let's take 8 to 12 sessions to where we're just exploring these values of how do you want to experience yourself in the physical domain, in the emotional mental domain, and then you go through all of them all the way down to the recreational domain. And then, okay, the client then has defined for themselves how they want to experience their life, right? Not how they want other people to experience them. That's going to be a byproduct of me showing up as whole and congruent with my values as possible. So then we take a few more sessions and we like really dig into, okay, how do you make that happen now? How do you protect the relationship that you have with that value? And when something is off, like you're talking about, it may be as simple as saying, okay, like, where are we not in line? Because a lot of the things that I noticed that especially my young professional clients would experience is like there's nothing, like they're not drinking too much, they're not going out and partying, they're not spending frivolously, they're not, they're not doing a lot of these like self-sabotaging destructive things, but they're still just not quite settled with themselves. And so it became this thing to where we could start poking around in each one of the domains and just saying like, well, how are you doing here? And surprisingly, to your earlier point about yourself, recreation tended to be one of the biggest ones that people just don't invest in. Absolutely. And if they are investing in it, it's kind of like an afterthought. They just kind of like, oh, if I have time, I might jump online and play video games with my friends. Or if I have time, I might go for a hike on the weekend or something like that. Instead of really building it into a priority for themselves. And if you're not recreating, then you're burning out.
Absolutely.
That is the refreshing, activity that we have to have. Because if you're not recreating, you're burning out.
You get to enjoy the life that you're working hard to create for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what, with so many aspects of the 8 domains too, not just with recreation, but we will freely say that, oh yes, absolutely, other people deserve that, but I will when I get time.
Right.
And yeah, the same things that we would say to a friend in the recreational domain, especially, we don't take the time to do. And so, a lot of times with my clients, and especially around the holidays too, just, you get to be a part of this, this world that you're making happen through your hard work and through your values. So many of them are compassionate and empathetic. You get to experience that too. Like, you're a part of all of this, jump in kind of thing.
What do you think keeps people from really embracing that? Because you're right, we tend to say things that are much more compassionate, much more empathetic, supportive, and encouraging to our friends and our loved ones. But then why is it that we struggle so much to just hear that same advice or hear that same kindness and compassion and accept it for ourselves?
There are probably as many reasons as there are people who experience that. I think for me in my life, it has generally been a story externally that I have soaked in. That's it very much is well, I can rest when, everything's not going to get done. I'm still going to be a good mom. I'm still going to be a good therapist. I'm still going to be a good daughter, sister, whatever I'm doing, and have fun. And maybe not do the thing that someone else wanted, and that's okay. Like, disappointment doesn't kill people,
Oh man, a lot of people need to hear that. Disappointment doesn't kill people.
Absolutely.
So you're saying it's okay for people to feel disappointed in us at times?
Absolutely. And we know this intrinsically.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody out there who's not been disappointed, by something or someone, and those expectations and assumptions, sometimes they don't even have to be said. I think it's Don Miguel Ruiz, and I always botch him because I'm not a Toltec spiritualist, and he's amazing. But, he made a point that, we get so used to being kind of caged in that eventually we cage ourselves in. And so I think for me, the reason I don't experience recreation easily is that it's not part of the story that I've been told.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that story?
Absolutely. It kind of ties into the my play style and the book, because I'm a storyteller is my play style. I love to kind of figure out why things happen or put that narrative in. Of course, that can be a cognitive distortion of magical thinking and all of that. But I think play, as far as, going to law school, being the mom, all of the roles that I've taken on, being the therapist, they're more serious roles, and we're allowed some play when it's like child development,
Yeah.
We can play in this particular way and it will benefit our children, kind of thing. But, parenting today is fascinating in that way that, we ask a lot of parents sometimes, to the point that, how did other generations do this?
Together. They did it together in smaller communities with more support.
Absolutely. That's a great point that we have put it on one or two people to do a team's work.
Yeah.
And then kind of said,
well, and my parents didn't really. Like, I'm a 1982 Xennial. So I'm Gen X and Millennial, and my dad is 79 and my mom is 67, and I was the streetlights kid, like be home when the streetlights come on. And that was as young as I can remember. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like 3 or 4, but like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, like it was just understood that I was kind of free ranging it in my neighborhood on a bike, just whatever. And so I think that it was also easier then too, whenever the expectation was, it's like, we have this neighborhood, in this suburb, and you have a group of kids, and you can just go out and play, and you can just be out there. And my kids, my middle one, he wants to like get out and ride his bike and go to the golf course and do all of these things. But also there are times like if he just wants to like sit on the couch and play video games or like be with me. And my 4-year-old so it is a lot. And I think we as parents have created the difference and kind of like wanting to shelter and protect our kids from getting snatched up, things like that. But yeah. So anyways, I just some random thoughts that I had about it, but
absolutely,
it is. I think it's different now. Like I don't see kids as there's a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and I don't see them out roaming the neighborhood on bicycles together. Like I was basically in a biker gang in my neighborhood, and we just rode all over the place, like 4 or 5 or sometimes 8 or 9 of us. We'd go to the corner yard. Bryn Browder's house, she lived on the corner of our neighborhood, and she had a big yard, and we'd play football and we'd play kickball. Just everybody would just convene there. There was no texting, there was no internet announcement, no Facebook groups to coordinate it. It was just like we intuitively just knew, oh, we're all going to Bryn's house and we're going to play football or wiffle ball or whatever.
And so that's interesting too, because I mean, my childhood, I'm 1980s, but I guess my parents were ahead of their time. I was very structured, and I had different events, my, softball from t-ball, and then volleyball and, taekwondo in the afternoons. And so my mom was kind of shuttling us after school everywhere. But it almost sounds like too from what your experience was, that the responsibility for being a kid might be now on parents, to go find them something to do.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's
from all sides, man. It's all sides.
It's what?
It's from all sides.
It is from all sides. Yeah, I remember that pressure of like whenever my boys and I moved into the neighborhood we live in now. We moved in with my wife when we got married, and I felt this pressure to like try and find kids and connections for them and get them into activities and everything. Whereas I remember I was 5 whenever I moved from the first house I lived in to the house that I kind of grew up in. And I just got on a bike and went knocking on doors, and just like found kids and figured out how to play. And yeah, now that I'm thinking back on it, I this recreation and this concept of play is interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I've been in this really, really difficult spot the last 4 months, because I haven't been able to play the way that I like to play, which is on the jiu-jitsu mat. I've just now kind of started. I hope my physical therapist or ortho doesn't, they probably don't watch my podcast, but I started going back to jiu-jitsu, and I notice an immediate shift in my energy, in my mood, in the way that I think about myself. And it only lasts about a day or so, but it's something kind of magical, psychologically magical about playing. And I'm not out, like, I understand I'm still limited, so I'm not trying to do crazy things, but it's just I'm there, and there's a community there, and it truly feels like it's recreating this energy, this I don't know, this connection to myself and to others. So I saw a TikTok last week, and it was a woman who had posted a video of her partner, and they were at a water park type thing, and it was just him. There were no kids around, but he was just like running around, and it was like one of the things where the water like comes into the buckets, and the
I do love those.
And he was like running around, and he was like knocking them over, and he was just frolicking around in this water. He was having a great time. And it was one of these kind of shaming videos. She was like, "Is this a red flag? Shouldn't your man act like a man at all times," or something like that? And the comments butchered this gal.
All right.
They were like,
"Cheers,
he's not
internet."
Yeah, like men and women in the comments were like, "No, like, let him play. Like, why do we not let ourselves play?" I can't tell you the last time, other than at jiu-jitsu, I've just played anything.
Yeah.
Other than with my kids to entertain them. So anyways,
which is directed.
It's directed. It's for a purpose. I'm investing in them. I'm thinking about the connection and the relationship and how that's going to pay dividends in our connection and relationship later in life. It's a good memory for them, and it's not just for my own enjoyment. I don't even know if I know how to do that other than at jiu-jitsu.
Well,
it's tricky.
That's another thing, though, that I do like about the 8 domains, is that when you get that value set for that domain, you start thinking about how to experience that no matter what your life age, stage, circumstances.
Yeah. You think that maybe that's why, like, pickleball took off?
That might be.
Like my
from
mother-in-law,
tennis, to
pickleball.
to...
It's competitive. There's rules, there's competition, there's community and interaction, and it's pretty accessible.
Absolutely.
Just about anybody can get out there and do it. So, yeah.
Okay. I agree. So, very well worth it. I wonder if, I know there's the food box kind of prescriptions, there's some different movements to prescribe different things for more holistically addressing different issues, do you think we could start like prescribing play?
We probably need to.
Yeah.
I remember one of the most emotional sessions that I sat in with a client. It was a young mid 20s guy in a corporate job, and he had lost his dad when he was like 9 or 10 years old. And I never had really processed that grief because tragically, as is with a lot of boys, when their dad becomes absent, they become the parentified, right?
Yeah,
They become the man of the house. And he had kind of had to step into that role of man of the house, and he kind of lost his childhood. So we were walking through memories with him and his dad, and he didn't have a lot of them, but the one thing that he did remember was he used to go swing. He loved to swing, and his dad would push him. And I was like, well, when's the last time you were on a swing? He's like, oh, it's probably been 15. Probably since my dad died. I haven't done it since then. And so I prescribed that he just go find a park and go swing. And just not just go swing, but like take yourself swinging. Have this mindfulness and awareness that there's a part of you that you're going to take, and you're going to be the adult pushing that version of you, and just letting that kid play again in the way that he loved to play, and to feel connected to these positive memories in the past. And to my surprise, this kid did it. And on our next session, he and I both were like in tears, just like reconnected about how powerful of an experience that was for him, of like just reconnecting with playing in that very simple way. And so I'm you've got me really thinking and like racking my brain, like what did I also like to swing. I like to play basketball. I haven't played basketball. I used to, now that I think about it, I used to come home and shoot 100 free throws in the driveway before going in the house. I haven't done that in probably 2 years. I don't know why. I used to do it every day when the weather was nice.
Do it.
Yeah. I got to where I could shoot like 93, 94%. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm from Kentucky, so that's really all we had in school growing up was basketball. There's nothing else is there.
We had that rope. Did you all have the rope climb?
Yeah.
That like 2 kids could climb, and
a rope that 2 kids could climb at the same time?
No, like at least in my elementary school, like there was only 2 kids that could actually make it to the top of the rope and like ring the
You know
bell.
what's wild about
It was
that?
never one of those.
Listen, I could, and thinking back on that, we're letting like children climb 30 feet up in the air with no harness. Like OSHA would have a heyday nowadays.
No
like,
permission slips.
No permission
that I know
slip,
of.
and like a 2-inch foam mat at the bottom of it. Like
extreme verbal taunting from below.
Right.
Oh,
and if you lose your grip, you're falling 25, 30 feet down because you had to climb to the rafter of the gymnasium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they say, walk it off.
Yeah. I mean, I to my knowledge, nobody ever fell, but I'm sure someone has. Yeah. That's kind of crazy. I don't think that they would let kids do that these days.
Yeah, I don't know if it was my actual strength or just my survival instincts that kept me pretty low on that one. I'm going to say survival instincts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, with recreation, one of the things that I admire about my son, Jamin, is he's not afraid to go and like he still goes to the community center and like hangs out with a friend after school between going from school to work and things like that. He'll text me like, hey, can I go to the community center? He's 17 years old. I would have thought I was far too cool to go to a community center at 17 years old where there's other like middle school and elementary school age kids like running around playing dodgeball. He like goes and plays dodgeball with these kids, or he and his buddy will play basketball. He's not a basketball player, but he's just playing. He plays piano just for the hell of it. He goes to climb Nashville, and he just like played at climbing. And another thing that they do, he and a friend, I don't know what it's called, essentially like they go and they like track down trains.
Oh, okay.
Like his friend has an app, and they like track trains, and then I'm I'm like, Jamin, like is your buddy autistic? He's like, oh yeah, very. And I'm like, well, that's cool. So like they would go and they like find where these trains are going to be, and they watch the trains, and sometimes the trains stop, and it's probably not legal, but I mean they're 17, but like they'll climb on the trains and explore the trains while the trains are stopped, and I'm just like, that's play.
I do admire the enthusiasm of people who love trains. There's a guy on Instagram, Francis Bourgeois, I think. It doesn't matter. But his enthusiasm when a train comes through, and he knows its name, he knows its history, he knows where it's been, he knows the conductor, and he hopes for tones really, really badly. And when they give him some horns, he'll start crying.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Super happy about it. This dude is so fun to just sit there and just scroll through his page.
And he's a grown-up.
Oh yeah.
Well, and another guy that you really, really like, and I like, but I'm not nearly as deep into him, but the outdoor boy.
Outdoor Boys, Luke, yeah.
That guy looked like he's just out there playing. Like, that is living the dream, to be a grown-up, and your job is to go build forts in the snow and to see if you can survive a night.
Yep.
Like, I remember being a kid. You've got me on this like nostalgic reconnecting with what I like to do and why the fuck haven't I been doing it type of thought process. But like going out, like we used to go out in the woods. We had this spot out in the woods to where we had like taken, I mean, Rudy Mac just Monday morning was asking me in the car on the way. He's like, what's some of the most dangerous things that you did as a kid? And I'm like, chopping down big ass trees with an axe out in the woods and just assuming they wouldn't fall on me. We cleared out, and I'm talking about big trees, big fully mature trees with an axe that take us hours. Sometimes we'd have to chop on it for a couple of days with this axe. And for whatever reason, intuitively at 13 years old, 12 years old, we knew how to make them fall, and we'd have them fall over this creek and build a bridge. And we cleared out this campground and kind of like Outdoor Boys. And then there was another account on TikTok a couple of years ago where these kids were out building a fort by a creek. I can't remember the name of the account, but like they had such a good time out there. They were just like this spot out in the woods, and they were,
Like
giving
the kids
updates.
from It.
Huh?
In the Barrens.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, I wonder, I need to figure out ways to get reconnected to that play.
I think this is really cool though, because I think, sometimes people are a little bit afraid to share their joy for reasons, like, well, am I supposed to be doing this kind of thing? But it's a good reminder, especially when, we're having authentic, just fun, pure, undirected. Like, people love to hear that. Like, we love to share. We're a connected species. We love to feel joy vicariously through other people. It's contagious.
Yeah, I just got to hit an energy that I haven't felt in a long time. So I'm sorry if I just kind of took over the podcast.
That's all right.
Went into a monologue about all the shit that I used to do to have fun.
That drone that follows you?
Yeah.
You should take it with you on a trip. Noise canceling, and just talk and walk.
Yeah.
It'll follow you.
Yeah, I could do that. It only has like a 7 or 8 minute battery life though.
Oh.
Doesn't
Well,
last very
I'll get
long.
you the Insta 360 Go. And you just take a selfie stick.
So storytelling is your form of play.
It is.
And so you write books, you've written children's books, you've written
I have.
you're almost, it feels like, done with this 8 domains book that you've been working on for a couple of years. Which, can I just say, and I may have like mentioned it to you, but like that is one of the maybe the greatest honors that I have felt professionally and like intellectually, is someone takes an idea that I had and thinks that it's valid enough to spend 2 years laboring over it and working on it and investing in it. And like, you get all the credit, like you, Shannon, Jenny, anybody else. Like, I've contributed very little other than just kind of the idea. And I want you to have all that credit, but I also want to say, like, it's so honored. I feel so honored that you thought it was a good enough idea to make a book out of. So thank you.
Well, absolutely. That makes my day.
It kind of blows my mind. Yeah. So anyways.
Well, you know, it's something I think that's so accessible. And like I say, I turn toward it for the reasons. And I mean, a lot of that has to be from my experience, you know, and the things that I have worked through in my life. But absolutely, I appreciate that.
Well, it's as sincere as I can be. Thank you for working on it. Thank you for doing it, and I can't wait to dig into it in a couple of weeks whenever I'm alone in a cabin in the mountains, hopefully playing a little bit too.
Indeed,
figuring out how to reconnect with this a little bit.
Well, I think it's going to be, I mean, like you say, Shannon and Jenny have been in on it as well. And we've pulled from, you know, personal experience, some of our clients' experiences when able. But the stories are just really, with each domain is going to have its own couple of case studies of times, somewhat universally, you know, people have experienced issues and how they were able to overcome those within the 8 domains. And, you know, it's just really powerful to hear other people's stories.
Yeah.
You know, I work a lot with narrative therapy because my play is storytelling. And sometimes we just tell ourselves. I have even been in session and I said, you are going to have to tell me a better story than this because I know you are strong and capable and resilient, and I'm not getting that out of the air. But it's so hard, I think, for some of us, you know, kind of back to why can't we play? You know, why can't we see ourselves and tell ourselves the story that puts us in the strong position so many times?
Yeah, it's almost like there's a part of me that feels weak if I'm playing. I don't know when that started.
Oh,
like when I became too cool to just have fun in public.
Yeah.
To be silly, to be uninhibited, to be joyful. Like, why is my joy cringe?
Absolutely.
Because that's how it feels sometimes. Like, at least whenever I'm doing jujitsu, like, it's tough, it's, you know, it's active, it's strenuous or whatever. But also, like, it's just silly sometimes. Like, I'm rolling around on the floor in pajamas with other grown men on a noon at Tuesday. And, you know, like, we're laughing and giggling. And, like, it's nobody really knows what they're doing either. It's just we're making it up. And it's improvised a lot of times. And it's so silly. But, like, I can't, it's hard for me to translate that level of like joy into anything else because I just feel like it's immature or it's almost like, the cringe is the word that and that's so sad. There's a part of me that feels sad admitting that.
And, you know, I wonder, because I get to put on my lawyer hat
Do
sometimes. I use it every day. I mean, definitely law is one of those times when I looked around and said, well, this isn't how I thought it was going to be. But I don't regret it a bit because it really, again, built that skill and that strength that I have and that really different perspective. And what I would do with that cringe is say, who is this serving my cringe? Why do I feel this way and who is this serving? Because I think so many times when we feel these things, it's been put there for reasons. And I think, again, with my life and my story, a lot of the time the things that I'm inhibited from doing are because I'm supposed to be more productive. who is this serving? Well, it's serving the things that I will buy and the things that I will do. And, it's like somewhere in there I've gotten to, I can't just be. I can't just have this undirected. And so I think with cringe, a lot of times it's, who will I make uncomfortable? And flipping that on its head, it's, who am I giving permission to? Like, I love permission structure and kind of digging into that because, that man's joy running around that splash pad gave other people permission. Jump in, have fun. And I think we forget that too, that we can model, the world that we want to see. We don't have to kind of fit the box that we're given.
Yeah.
So there's a sort of Gen Z thing online called maxing, which is like, men maxing, where you're trying to optimize yourself at the expense of being a normal person. And usually it's designed to insult someone who's trying to genuinely enjoy something. And we see a lot of that on TikTok and social media, just like you were saying with the guy just playing, having fun. And it's something I've been going through with ChatGPT, just trying to understand the culture of it and why it's become so prevalent. But it's definitely a giant deterrent for people to actually spend time and enjoying themselves with something they've
So the idea
missing.
of maxing is to like max out your masculinity or max
out anything. Like, say, for example, there's all kinds of different things that go along with it. Things that don't even make sense to me, like goblin maxing, which is dumb. There's all kinds of things I don't understand within their lingo. Yeah. But the actual genuine nature of putting a lot of effort into something is considered maxing.
And that's a bad thing.
That's a bad thing. It's something we ridicule. It's like a try hard.
Or you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Oh. So like, that you're trying too hard or you're doing too much.
I just think the way you said, why is my joy cringe? It sent me down a rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to decode that when it comes to the nature of why people insult that online and why it's coded online for something that people use like a heat-seeking missile to attack it is something that's been going on for years and years, and it's sort of at a boiling point right now where people are just not caring about the insulting nature of it and doing it regardless.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
You know that Rick and Morty quote?
No.
Okay. There is a
the
quote
answer.
that,
I wish I knew more
Okay.
Rick and Morty, but I don't.
well, there is a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. It is, "Your boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer."
Right. Yeah, I've heard that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of like what. Whenever I asked the question like, "Why is my joy cringe?" I wasn't concerned about it being cringe to anyone else.
Ooh.
My joy feels cringe to me. Like that uninhibited, the idea of, again, you said like the GoPro, take the GoPro and like follow. I could do that because then it's about producing content or providing some thing to someone else that they get to consume, and it's not about me, but like that pure hedonistic seeking my own pleasure for the sake of just that, with no outcome, with no output, with no reward at the end for someone else's benefit or consumption, just because I like it. That feels off limits to me sometimes. That's what I meant by cringe. Like, it's embarrassing to be that selfish.
Huh.
So these are some...
Wow.
Yeah, I see Ginger Pilarski next Wednesday in her office. She's a great therapist. If you're in Tennessee and need a therapist, that might be something we need to look into. But that, I think we're discovering a.
Dude, I've got some notes for you.
Thanks, send them, please. But yeah, I mean, I normally these podcasts aren't a therapy session for me. They're not a therapy session for anybody, but it kind of feels like that is happening right now. Of me looking at this recreational domain and saying, yeah, I value, I don't know what I value in it right now, because it feels off limits at times. And why does it feel off limits? Because I'm a dad, because I'm a business owner, I'm an employer, I'm a very serious person with lots of people depending on me. Yeah. I think that there's like this imbalance. Like we said, if you're not recreating, you're burning out, and I feel it.
Absolutely.
I'd never said that before. If you're not recreating, you're burning out, until today. But yeah, I think I needed to hear that. I need to figure out how to play more.
Yeah, we get to participate. We get to just be. We don't have to just lead.
Yeah.
We don't have to ascribe ourselves to the roles as written. And self-care can feel selfish when we're not used to it.
Stephanie Barca, thank you so much for having this therapy session with me.
It's been great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, so 8 Domains book, whenever we get it wrapped up and finished and published, we're going to come back and talk about it, and maybe have Shannon and Jenny join us and just kind of go another round on the podcast, just talking about this lovely book that you're writing.
I absolutely look forward to it.
All right, well, thank you.